ladies and gentlemen. Kindly take your seats as we are about to start the program. We'll soon have the academic procession, and so we invite you all to take your seats. And please lend me your ears for a couple of announcements. For those of you coming to this hall for the first time, we have washrooms to my right and to my left. The washrooms to my right are for ladies, and the ones to my left are for gents. Please, there is a door to my right. It leads to washrooms for ladies. There is one to my left. That one leads to washrooms for gentlemen. For this lecture, we'll be live on all the university's social media platforms, and so please take note. Please let's prepare ourselves in readiness to start the lecture. Please let's kindly rise to receive the members of Convocation. You may please sit as we wait for the Vice-Chancellors. Please, let's rise for the platform party. Thank you very much. Please resume your seats. Madam Vice-Chancellor, former Vice-Chancellors, Pro-Vice-Chancellors, Acting Registrar, Provosts, Deans, Directors, Heads of Department, our distinguished Professor and Lecturer for this evening, members of Convocation, eminent clergy, Nananom, invited guests, staff and students, our friends from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Our second strategic plan as a university is impactful research. Therefore, it is with great pride and deep appreciation that we welcome you to the Great Hall of the University of Ghana as we celebrate Professor Kwasi Dartey-Baah, a professor of leadership and organizational development and director of the Institutional Advancement Directorate, who shares his cutting-edge research output tonight. Professor Dartey-Baah delivers the third in the series of inaugural lectures scheduled for the 2024-2025 academic year, and he will be addressing the topic, Dancing in the Boardroom, Leading with Groove, Balancing Tradition and Transformation in Ghana's Leadership Landscape. We all need some leadership skills, and so we crave your attention as we listen to our distinguished professor tonight. For now, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the Acting Registrar, Mr. Benedict Fosuagyei, to deliver the welcome remarks and to introduce the chairperson for this evening's lecture. Please join me to welcome Mr. Fosuagyei.
Vice-Chancellor, Pro-Vice-Chancellors, Provosts, Deans, Directors, Heads of Department, members of Convocation, students, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. A very good evening to you all, and welcome to the Great Hall of the University of Ghana. We also acknowledge all those joining us from all over the world via the live stream. We are delighted that you are all able to join us for this evening's inaugural lecture to be delivered by Professor Samuel Kwasi Dartey-Baah of the Department of Organization and Human Resource Management of the University of Ghana Business School, College of Humanities. Inaugural lectures are an essential component of the university's programs, and every academic who rises to the rank of a professor in his or her career in the university is expected to deliver an inaugural lecture. This offers the university the opportunity to recognize and showcase the academic achievements of its faculty, and also enables professors to share their research and with colleagues within and outside the university, and to celebrate this important milestone with family and friends. I am pleased to introduce the chairperson of today's inaugural lecture. Our chairperson is the first female vice-chancellor of the University of Ghana. She is a professor of linguistics, an experienced administrator, and has over 20 years' experience working in higher education sector. In the University of Ghana, she has previously served as the Pro-Vice-Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, the Foundation Dean of the School of Languages, and the Head of Department of Linguistics. As Vice-Chancellor, she is leading the university to adopt technology in all its operations while keeping the university people as the focus. She has received numerous awards for her work in the education, female empowerment, and leadership. She is a member of many prestigious societies and organizations, and is a fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. She is the founding president of African Humanities Association. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Professor Nana-Aba Appiah Amfo, Vice-Chancellor, University of Ghana, and Chairperson for this evening's inaugural lecture. Vice-Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Registrar, Pro-Vice-Chancellors, Acting Registrar, our distinguished lecturer, Professor Samuel Kwasi Dartey-Baah, Provost, Deans, Directors, and Heads of Departments, former Vice-Chancellors and other senior officers of the university, corporate executives, members of the diplomatic corps, our esteemed traditional rulers, eminent clergy, faculty, staff, and members of Convocation, alumni and students, family and friends of the lecturer, invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. I'm excited to preside over this evening's inaugural lecture to be delivered by Professor Samuel Kwasi Dartey-Baah, a professor of leadership and organizational development at the University of Ghana Business School. This inaugural lecture provides a platform for the University of Ghana to recognize and celebrate the contribution of Professor Dartey-Baah to academia and his impact to society through research, teaching, and consultancy services in the field of leadership and organizational development. This evening, Professor Dartey-Baah is set to treat us to an interesting lecture on the topic, Dancing in the Boardroom, Leading with Groove, Balancing Tradition and Transformation in Ghana's Leadership Landscape. In this lecture, Professor Dartey-Baah emphasizes the intricate nature of leadership in contemporary organizations, which requires a blend of skills, emotional intelligence, and adaptability to navigate both internal and external challenges, particularly in the Ghanaian context. He uses the metaphor dancing in the boardroom to illustrate leadership as a form of art requiring rhythm, flexibility, and cultural awareness, while leading with groove connotes a leadership style that is fluid, emotionally resonant, and responsive. The lecture further discusses the challenge faced by Ghanaian leaders in balancing the historical traditions rooted in traditional governance structures with the demands of modernization and globalization. He advocates that this requires adaptive leadership that is culturally sensitive and strategically forward-thinking. In an attempt to balance traditional hierarchical leadership with modern practices such as innovation, accountability, and merit-based performance, the lecture introduces the transformational leadership model, a leadership concept developed by Professor Dartey-Baah, which emphasizes a blend between transformational and transactional leadership approaches to drive success. He concludes by emphasizing that the key to leading with groove is being adaptable and responsive to both the formal and informal expectations of those being led. For contemporary leaders to be successful, they ought to exhibit cultural sensitivity, agility and adaptability, and high emotional intelligence. And now, distinguished audience, please permit me to share with you the lecturer's profile. Professor Samuel Kwasi Dartey-Baah is a professor of leadership and organizational development at the University of Ghana Business School. He's a distinguished academic and leader whose contributions span across higher education, organizational development, and global leadership theory. With a career marked by remarkable achievements in both the academic and professional sectors, Professor Dartey-Baah is dedicated to shaping the future of education, leadership, and organizational practices. Currently serving as the Director of Institutional Advancement at the University of Ghana, he has held pivotal roles, including former Head of Department of Organization and Human Resource Management at the University of Ghana Business School. Nationally, Professor Dartey-Baah has made significant contributions to the engineering sector, having chaired the National Strategic Planning Committee of the Ghana Institution of Engineering in 2014 and serving on the institution's council. He also served on the Grievance and Review Committee of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission of Ghana. Globally, Professor Dartey-Baah is widely recognized for his pioneering work in leadership theory, notably the transactional leadership theory. His contributions to the field of leadership continue to inspire scholars and practitioners around the world. Before joining the University of Ghana in 2010, Professor Dartey-Baah gained extensive experience working with renowned consulting firms, including JMP Consulting and Colin Buchanan and Partners in the UK. During his tenure at these firms, he held a partnership position and led the successful management of numerous large-scale multidisciplinary projects. His core values of integrity, hard work, professionalism, and an unwavering commitment to excellence has been the foundation of his work and continue to inform his ongoing engagements. Professor Dartey-Baah holds dual PhDs in leadership and human resource development from Trinity College, USA, and Canterbury University, UK, alongside a PhD in business management and administration from the University of Stellenbosch in South Africa. He also holds a Master of Science in Engineering from Imperial College London and a Bachelor of Science in Engineering from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. His diverse academic background allows him to bridge the fields of engineering, management, and leadership, equipping him to address complex organizational challenges. His professional affiliations include being a Fellow of the Ghana Institution of Management, member of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, chartered member of the Chartered Institute of Transport in London, and a member of the Institution of Highways and Transportation in London. These memberships demonstrate his commitment to advancing industry standards and fostering cross-disciplinary excellence. As a Director of Institutional Advancement at the University of Ghana, Professor Dartey-Baah has driven progress in global engagement and resource mobilization. He has supported the Vice-Chancellor's vision, promoting initiatives in fundraising, alumni engagement, and impact projects. Under his leadership, he implemented the World Bank Institutional Impact Project, launched 5 alumni groups across Africa. He introduced the Deans and Directors Conference and initiated the Advancement Quarterly Newsletter, as well as the UG Connect newsletter for alumni to keep stakeholders engaged and informed. Professor Dartey-Baah's academic career at the University of Ghana Business School reflects his outstanding contributions to both teaching and research. Rising through the ranks to professor by 2021, his expertise has made a significant impact on the university's academic programs. As head of the Department of Organization and Human Resource Management, he played an instrumental role in developing the university's first ever PhD program in Human Resource Management and the MA in Organizational Leadership and Governance, both of which have since become very competitive programs. Professor Dartey-Baah has authored over 70 publications and is globally recognized for his leadership of the transactional leadership theory. His research has reshaped leadership studies and organizational development, earning him a reputation as a global thought leader. Before transitioning to academia, Professor Dartey-Baah had a successful career in transport planning, engineering, and urban design, contributing to high-profile projects across the UK. As principal engineer at JMP Consulting, he led a multidisciplinary team delivering various transport projects for local authorities. Professor Dartey-Baah's early career also includes work as an engineer at Comtran Engineering and Planning Associates in Accra, Ghana. Professor Dartey-Baah's consulting background in engineering and management uniquely informs his role as a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, particularly in the areas of organizational behavior, leadership, and project management at the postgraduate level. His extensive experience in managing complex multidisciplinary projects allows him to bridge the gap between academic theory and real-world challenges, providing valuable practical insights into project execution and organizational development. Professor Dartey-Baah's teaching is driven by his passion for mentorship and his commitment to preparing the next generation of leaders. His research focuses on leadership, organizational development, and employee engagement, with an emphasis on leadership styles and their impact on organizational effectiveness and sustainability in emerging economies. His research explores how transformational, transactional, ethical, authentic, and toxic leadership styles affect organizational outcomes and employee well-being. He also examines leadership in the construction sector, focusing on how leadership competences influences project success, particularly in high-risk environments. Professor Dartey-Baah has successfully contributed to CSR leadership and management research, and he has authored and co-authored many publications and consultancy reports. His interdisciplinary research continues to influence both academia and practical solutions for sustainable organizational growth. Prof. Dartey-Baah is widely recognized for his leadership in diverse organizational settings. As chair of committees at the University of Ghana, including the UGBS Infrastructure Committee, he has played a key role in shaping policies for the modernization of academic programs and infrastructure. He is deeply committed to the professional growth of students, faculty members, and organizational leaders. He has mentored numerous individuals in their leadership journeys and is a sought-after trainer and speaker in the areas of leadership development, emotional intelligence, organizational resilience, and strategic management. Professor Dartey-Baah is equally dedicated to service in both the academic and broader community. He serves as an external examiner for several universities worldwide. Beyond academia, Professor Dartey-Baah demonstrates his leadership through involvement in various community initiatives, including serving as a chair of the Strategic Leadership Platform of the International Central Gospel Church, serving on the Ghana Fellowship of Evangelical Students Board, and other educational and community service projects. Professor Dartey-Baah is married to Dr. Sandra Dartey-Baah, a pharmacist, and together they are proud parents of 3 children, Dr. Nana Kwasi Dartey-Baah, Nana Ya Dartey-Baah, and Samuel Papa Oreku Dartey-Baah. Prof. Dartey-Baah worships at the International Central Gospel Church at Adenta. During his leisure time, he delights in writing and reading poetry. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the abridged version of our lecturer's profile. I don't want his profile to be longer than the lecture itself. So I cut out some bits, and so you can read the fuller version in the brochures. And so it is now my pleasure to invite Professor Samuel Kwasi Dartey-Baah to the lectern to elaborate on the topic Dancing in the Boardroom, Leading with Groove, Balancing Tradition and Transformation in Ghana's Leadership Landscape. I'm eager to hear more, and I believe you are too. Thank you.
Nanan matran konya akunno ni anintini mo hyiamu igina suapoya namu ama munyina akwaba amama mu akwaba wie no Asida menyame fisa no ayekọ kete so no enipa bia ye no won bom ko kete so ebinom ya hwe wate asefo mu aye huon bebre nso akampam adumura nyankopon no adawroma ade enko ache dia Semijana de mekaza ne demo na ye yanka Odi ma foi edo asi Ma wie dia em se yenyina nim senti aye wa ho Manu anyamfo bintina ya waha Waya wabemfo Samuel Kwasi Dartey-Baah Wabemfo ya money yo Edo ase Ani adwuma sono na mi gina ha de ameka ne se ya funa owo edana sio esranka no fa wonom ye fisa wo ho abanfa so ama omen abusian so anya ya chafa me be adu abubi mamu adura amana no Kwasi oba wa wo enhranka no uma me anwo anka be hai jesa yemin sabra bamene waya waso Ama pempem aduane Anam woso amanipa bia ni bi na no so anya ba bia si enipa bia na nka busia pono anya ni daso money yo mo Sani anyamfo ya meken doctor owura yire Sandra Dartey-Baah na yino no Sani anyamfo yi ame boni din One na ne kono no no. Oba pa Sandra mo. Fisa. Sama be mama bia ebedim konimu a. Ewa abrabo mu a. Anano. Ne frene bo afo. Oba pa e. Amamo. Monin kwanda. Asumdwe wo fia. Amani daso. Nti Maria. Obenfu Kwasi. Adana Ibradu. Ebiase nyina ebetia wo. Ghana nso ya homboa. Wonim kanti ne ato nsafra wo. Kwasi amansane no. Bama bag. Ghana this year. Bibusa ya mensan kabusia ne din. Na so abusia wo damu. Nyame hye wo dadaada. Kasi na bra no asoma muswe. Kasa kanetie. Kasa wawu anini kasa ndi wabusia nyine na so nyamensa ena wadwuma panti ya so ayetia wo tini ya kansa abra no so kasa ba mene kasa abra no so kasa na abra no so.
So I can just move it up. Good evening to you all. It is a pleasure to welcome each and every one of you here today. I'm grateful to God that this day has finally arrived. A special acknowledgement goes to Madam Chair, Vice-Chancellor, and Chair of this lecture. Thanks very much for your inspirational leadership. Madam Vice-Chancellor and Chair, Pro-Vice-Chancellors, thanks very much, Odenihu Kwafakoto, the third, my good friend. I'm happy that you've been able to make it today. Thanks very much. Let's acknowledge Odenihu for now. Madam Vice-Chancellor and Chair, Pro-Vice-Chancellors, Registrar, Provosts, Deans and Directors, Heads of Department, present and former officers of the University. I would like to also acknowledge the clergy. I want to acknowledge Reverend Christopher Ano of ICGC Holy Ghost Temple, Reverend Mrs. Ano, Reverend Asiedu Entwi, Reverend Dr. Appiah of Grace Presbyterian Church, Ekropon, and founder of Patmos Retreat Center, Ekropon, represented by Reverend Quist and Reverend Albert. Reverend Nathialen Echi, Grace Presby Church, Ekropon, Rev. Peter Ata Eje, Ebrew Presby Church, Rev. C.A. Kwafo, Edukrom Presby Church, Rev. Joshua Owusu Ansa, Edukrom Presby Church. I also want to welcome Reverend Dr. Samuel Edwin Tando, Essentials of Christ Ministries, Reverend Augustus Omaritin, Reverend Elvis Eben Bafo of Christ Oasis Ministries, Respectfully, I acknowledge all members of the clergy gathered here today. I also like to acknowledge Justice Professor Samuel Kofi Dartey-Baah, retired Justice of the Supreme Court and former Chair of University of Ghana Council, who is watching online. I want to also acknowledge Dr. Andy Okra, the CEO of Ghana Crop Tree Development Authority. I acknowledge the Clerk of Parliament and his team. I acknowledge all parliamentarians here. I acknowledge the Director of HR of Star Assurance and other managers of Star Assurance. I acknowledge Mr. Magbudu, CEO of Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the CEO of Exim Bank, Mr. Sylvester Mensah, the executive team from Ghana Canada Chamber of Commerce. I also like to acknowledge our traditional leaders here. I acknowledge Odinho Kwafa Koto III, the Kwamu Hini and the Paramount Chief of the Kwamu State and his entourage. I'd like to acknowledge Osan Brema Kwame Otudati, the Chief of Mampon Krapim, Nana Safro Okwampa III, the Chief of Aprede Krapim, Nana Ojiri Hinaku, Aprede Ekwamuhine, the Amankrado of Krapim Mampon, Nana Aurora Ansan III. I want to acknowledge Ochami Esari, the linguist of the Chief of Mampon. I acknowledge Nana Nyakun II, Nifahini, Nana Ayekofi Adikrohini. I acknowledge Nana Brafo Pebi. I acknowledge Awu Techiwa Karl, Chidom Hima, Jasiwa Ayao, Pabia, Jasi Himia. I acknowledge Ekwia Efi Sapon, Jantua Hima. I also want to acknowledge Nana Kwame Opoku Efriye, Yensisu Dikro. I respectfully acknowledge all the traditional leaders represented here today. I acknowledge the presence of my mom and my family. Nime, Name, I acknowledge you. I acknowledge the Mremama Ebusia Kesia fraternity. I acknowledge corporate executives, to our bright students and media and the general public. Thank you for being here today. Certainly that's a long one. My presentation outline is as follows. My presentation will be in 3 parts. I will begin with an introduction which will include the purpose of the lecture, a personal reflection on my journey of learning to dance, a celebration of my collaborators, and how we've developed our dance together. The second part of the presentation will provide an overview and examination of the topic, including an exploration of Ghana's leadership landscape, followed by a deeper dive into the main content of the presentation and my contributions to the field over the years. The third and final section will focus on policy recommendations, after which I will acknowledge some key individuals who have supported me throughout my journey. I will then conclude the lecture with my final thoughts. So now, the purpose of the lecture. Madam Chair, it is a great honor for me to deliver this inaugural lecture. As is customary at the University of Ghana, any scholar who attains the rank of full professor is expected to present an inaugural lecture, which is a significant event in the university's academic calendar. Madam Chair, the title of my lecture is Dancing in the Boardroom, Leading with Groove, Balancing Tradition and Transformation in Ghana's Leadership Landscape. I'm aware that this title has caused a bit of a stir in town. Just stay put, it will all be revealed soon. This lecture speaks to the dynamic nature of leadership in whatever form it takes or sphere it is practiced in contemporary Ghana. In a world where leadership is often portrayed as a rigid structure, I propose that we view it instead as a dance, an intricate balance of tradition and transformation, of rhythm and creativity, and of heart and strategy. Just as in dance, leadership in the boardroom requires to navigate diverse steps, ensuring that the legacy of our cultural values is honored while embracing the need for innovation and change. This lecture will also explore the unique leadership challenges and opportunities in Ghana, considering how traditional values such as respect for hierarchy and community intersect with the global demands for innovation, inclusion, and progress. Drawing on academic research and my leadership journey, I will examine how leaders in Ghana can groove in their roles and lead with authenticity, passion, and empathy, while positioning their organizations for growth in a rapidly evolving environment. As we reflect on the ever-changing leadership landscape in this lecture, I aim to inspire a dialogue that encourages a harmonious fusion of tradition and transformation, fostering leadership grounded in history and poised for the future. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of thought, reflection, and exploration. Now, my journey to this moment, learning to dance. Who am I and where have I been? I tried to capture some old photos of me, so I'm the one there, the young shall grow. Now, before diving into today's lecture, I would like to share some insights from my personal leadership journey, a journey I call learning to dance. This phrase is not just a metaphor for embracing fluidity and innovation in leadership, but it reflects who I am and where I have been. My academic and professional journey began in engineering, a discipline known for its clear-cut results-oriented approach. For many years, I thrived in an environment where measurable outcomes and technical precision were the norm. Starting in Ghana, I worked on key infrastructure projects, including highway designs, transport terminals, and the World Bank-sponsored Elubu Asemkrum project. My career then led me to the United Kingdom, where I led high-profile projects such as the Hammersmith Gyratory, Blackfriars Station schemes, and the London Bus Priority Network. I managed large budgets working in the United Kingdom. These experiences shaped my technical skills, but also sparked a deeper interest in people-oriented leadership. I began to ask myself, what happens when leadership shifts from rigid structures and technical processes to the more dynamic human-centered aspects? This curiosity led me to explore how leaders engage with teams to foster growth, creativity, and collaboration. I began reading widely, delving into studies on leadership behaviors towards teams from the universities of Ohio, University of Michigan, and the work of Blake and Mackenzie. One of the most impactful influences of my thinking came from Douglas McGregor's theories X and theory Y, which became the focus of my first degree. McGregor argues that human beings have assumptions, and leaders in particular have assumptions. And these assumptions drive what they do. Leaders who lean towards the X assumption believe that you have to keep an eye and micromanage people to get results. Theory Y argues that when you create the right environment, you are likely to get the results you need without necessarily micromanaging. In my research, I explored McGregor's theories and their application in non-profit organizations. My findings were enlightening. Leaders tend to have core assumptions that shape their engagement with people, regardless of whether they are under pressure to deliver financial results or not. Interestingly, in organizations where financial returns were not emphasized, leaders still exhibited the same behaviors as those working under pressure to achieve high returns. These studies deepened my understanding of leadership styles and their profound impact on organizational culture, prompting me to explore leadership models beyond the traditional result-driven approaches. In my early years as a lecturer, I focused on developing leadership frameworks, a passion rooted in my engineering background. I never fully realized until later how my engineering training had shaped my approach to leadership, combining a structured strategic mindset with a desire to create systems that fostered human growth and collaboration. My initial works in leadership, when I started, anytime I read the literature, I get frameworks in my mind and I draw them up. So most of the frameworks that you see are texts that I've read and what I came out with. And I noticed that there was a lot of no work is being done most times when it comes to frameworks. So I took advantage of that, of my engineering capacity, and decided to go more frameworks to ramp up the papers. And so somehow it worked. So that's the story. Madam Chair, as my journey continued, I embraced the idea that leadership is much about people as it is about processes, and that learning to dance in leadership means embracing both the structured and the fluid, the technical and the human. Madam Chair, I would like to celebrate some of my collaborators as we developed our dance. I want to acknowledge some of our senior colleagues, Prof. Polampo, Prof. Ofori, my very good friend, Aponsa Tewia. I also have my HOD, Professor Obi, Dr. Lamte, and then Xavier Nubo. These are members of my department. The reason why they are there is that we've actually written some papers together. I also have other collaborators that we had before. And these ones in particular, they are all my teaching assistants who have now begun to do their own dancing. We have Vicky, we have Dr. Amfo, we have Dr. Seth, AUC, and so on and so forth. My current assistant is the one at the far right, Bridget, and Bridget is also learning to dance. One day, I'm sure she will dance much better than I have tried to achieve. Now, we get to the part 2 of my lecture. Madam Chair, at this stage, I dedicate this lecture to the memory of my late father. Madam Chair, I would like to explain the metaphors dancing in the boardroom, leading with groove, balancing tradition and transformation. The title Dancing in the Boardroom, Leading with Groove, Balancing Tradition and Transformation in Ghana's Leadership Landscape blends metaphor with practical leadership insights. Dancing in the Boardroom emphasizes a leadership style rooted in fluidity, adaptability, and creativity, drawing parallels with dance, where rhythm and responsiveness are key. Effective leadership in Ghana requires emotional intelligence, passion, and harmony within organizations. Leading with groove adds depth, highlighting leadership that blends empathy, care, and authenticity. Balancing tradition and transformation addresses the challenge of preserving Ghana's rich cultural heritage while embracing change and innovation to meet modern demands. Ghanaian leaders must navigate the tension between traditional values and evolving global influences, balancing continuity with progress. This lecture explores how leaders can integrate emotional intelligence, adaptability, and respect for tradition while driving transformation in a rapidly changing world. I would like to provide an overview of Ghana's leadership landscape and situate the context. Madam Chair, Ghana's leadership is a dynamic blend of indigenous cultural traditions, historical influences, and global demands. As a cultural crossroads, the country balanced old-age communal values with the pressures of modernization, technological advances, and global economic integration. Today's leadership navigates the challenge of maintaining cultural heritage while adapting to political evolution and globalization. As Ghana evolves into a more competitive global player, leaders must adapt their styles while honoring traditions. The key question for leaders is how to preserve cultural values amidst modernization and globalization. Now, I'm going to look at the political, traditional, and corporate leadership in Ghana. And we have this slide before us. This slide actually tries to show us the key leadership actors in Ghana today. We have political leadership, we have traditional leadership following, and then we have corporate leadership followed by religion or issues to do with religion. Now, in Ghana, and political, traditional, and corporate leadership are kind of domains. They play very important roles in shaping the nation's development, though they face unique challenges. Political leadership in Ghana is centered on a democratic system where elected officials are tasked with balancing the country's developmental needs with maintaining national unity. Political leaders must navigate significant challenges, including corruption, economic inequality, and pressure from traditional structures that can sometimes conflict with modern governance. These complexities make it difficult to advance the nation while reconciling traditional values with the demands of contemporary governance. Traditional leadership, on the other hand, remains integral to Ghana's cultural identity. Chiefs and elders are seen as the protectors of values, offering guidance, mediating conflicts, and managing resources. They combine ancient customs with modern governance to maintain social cohesion. However, traditional leadership faces its own challenges. such as gender inequality and reconciling practices with the evolving governance standards. Corporate leaders in Ghana also have their own challenges to deal with. They face challenges such as corruption, infrastructural limitations, and financial constraints. They must balance profitability with social responsibility while meeting global business standards. As the market evolves, corporate leaders are tasked with adapting to economic challenges while also ensuring success and stability. While political, traditional, and corporate leadership structures differ, they share a common goal of serving their communities. All three leadership forms emphasize the importance of relationships, adaptability, and community welfare. However, each must contend with the pressures of modernity and globalization. Understanding how these leadership models interact can promote a more inclusive leadership approach across all sectors. Now, the challenges and opportunities for dialogue. Recently, a conflict arose when political and traditional leadership within that space, when the Minister for Interior raised concerns about chiefs using chieftaincy crests on their vehicles instead of official registration plates, which he deemed as a security risk. According to Ghana's Road Traffic Regulation 2012, all vehicles must display official plates issued by the DVLA, with the exception of the President. The minister set a deadline for chiefs to comply, threatening to impound non-compliant vehicles. While this firm stance supports legal compliance, it will be perceived as controversial and confrontational as well, and may provoke resistance from traditional leaders. Nonetheless, this situation also presents an opportunity for dialogue on balancing traditional practices with national regulations. Upholding the rules of law is important, but promoting dialogue between political and traditional leadership is crucial to finding solutions that benefit all parties. An example of traditional leadership addressing national challenges occurred when Otumfuo Tutu II, the Asante Hini, destood Nana Amofa Chumesi II, the chief of Mpasasu No. 2, over allegations of illegal mining, which we often refer to as galamsey. This decision underscores the critical role traditional leaders play in addressing issues such as resource management and environmental sustainability. Despite potential involvement from other leaders, the Asante Hini's actions show that traditional leadership is key in tackling such challenges. Strengthening collaboration between traditional leaders, political authorities, and corporate stakeholders is therefore vital. Their collective actions impact local communities and the broader national economy. Dialogue between these actors will help resolve conflicts and promote sustainable development. Madam Chair, before I proceed with my presentation, I would like us to take a moment to watch the Fontomfrom dance. Fontomfrom, also known as Boma, is the most complex of all musical styles among the Akan people of Ghana, performed in religious and ceremonial settings. Well, we've not been able to get the sound, but I wanted to demonstrate the dancing in the boardroom metaphor through the movements. This is the Okwapiman Hini, the chief who actually signed. Thank you very much. There's a second one to follow. All right, thank you. Thanks very much. Now, the Fontomfrom dance holds great cultural significance for the Kwapin people, the ethnic group to which I belong. The performance will take about a minute, which we have just seen, and I'm sure that there are some few thoughts that we can explore and glean from the dance. I just want us to get a sense of the kind of dance that I'm referring to. It's not the cool type. It's a more forceful type, as you can see normally displayed in these sort of settings. Madam Chair, the question is, how do we dance right? How do we inspire the groove and maintain the rhythm whilst balancing tradition and transformation in Ghana's leadership landscape? Now, dancing in the boardroom. Madam Chair, leadership much like dancing requires rhythm, adaptability, and intuitive connection to the environment. Dancing in the boardroom emphasizes the dynamic nature of leadership, highlighting the need for leaders to attune themselves to the shifting rhythms of the organizations. Just as dancers move in harmony with their partners, leaders must navigate changing tempos, adjusting to both internal and external forces. Effective leadership is not rigid. It demands flexibility, creative decision-making, and the ability to read and respond to the room's dynamics. In terms of the rhythms of leadership, leadership must adapt to the shifting rhythms of the organizational environment, similar to how dancers adjust to tempo changes. Factors such as market fluctuations, technological advancements, and societal expectations contribute to this unpredictability. A great leader guides organizations through these changes while maintaining steady direction. In times of disruption, leaders must ensure that the organization's movements are deliberate and purposeful, relying on trust to keep the team aligned with a broader mission. Balancing structure with creativity is essential for encouraging innovation while maintaining stability within the organization. Some lessons from the dance. The metaphor of dance offers valuable lessons for leaders, especially in modern organizations. Flexibility and adaptability are core principles, with leaders needing to adjust their strategies in response to rapid changes, particularly in Ghana's evolving sociopolitical environment. Empathy is a crucial skill for leaders, helping them build strong relationships and foster a culture of trust. When leaders show empathy, they create an environment where employees feel valued and motivated to contribute. Vision is also another essential element worth pondering over. Just as a choreographer envisions a performance before it begins, leaders must have a clear vision to guide the organization. The vision provides clarity and direction, ensuring each action contributes to the organization's objectives. Additionally, the balance between precision and creativity is vital for promoting innovation while aligning with the organization's mission. Authentic leadership, much like dance, requires self-awareness and adaptation. Leaders must remain true to themselves, promoting transparency and consistency within the organizations. Authentic leaders cultivate an environment where employees feel empowered to express themselves, voice concerns, and contribute meaningfully to the organization's goals. This builds trust, and as employees recognize leaders' sincerity in their actions. In Ghanaian organizations, authentic leadership is deeply connected to communal values, focusing on collaboration and shared responsibility as the organization drives its mission and vision. It involves creating an environment where individuals feel deeply connected to the organization's values. Leaders must promote a culture of collaboration where employees are motivated not just by external rewards, but by their intrinsic connection to the organization's purpose. I'd like to talk about some 3 needs and expectations at work. Now, in the work setting, organizations have 3 key needs to address. They have intrinsic needs to meet, extrinsic rewards, and social relationships. Now, a lot of times, organizational settings, individuals emphasize what matters to them. For some, they are driven largely by the intrinsic needs, which is more of their connection to the work. Some others is more of the economic rewards, and for that others about the environment. We know from literature that when it comes to organizational settings, leaders must take full control over the environment. It is the easiest one that you can do, where you ensure that you don't allow toxicity to prevail in that environment. Aside that, if you're able to hire people by aligning their interests with the goals of the organization, we indirectly take care of the intrinsic rewards. These two elements alone can hold on to very high performance because they have that intrinsic satisfaction, and largely they work in a very conducive environment. It's a kind of a dance that leaders must learn and must understand and appreciate that, firstly, within the setting, some may be driven more by the economic, some may be more by the intrinsic, and especially the environment, which actually matters for all. Madam Chair, while leadership can be a graceful dance, it is not without these challenges. Organizational politics such as power struggles, favoritism, and political maneuvering can disrupt the flow of leadership. These internal dynamics complicate decision-making, they hinder collaboration, and create toxic work environments. In Ghanaian organizations, where interpersonal relationships play a significant role, these political factors complicate efforts to maintain fairness and transparency. Leaders must possess emotional intelligence and diplomatic skills to navigate these complexities. They need to balance competing interests and manage conflicts within organizations. By doing so, they can promote a culture of inclusivity, fairness, and collaboration, ensuring trust remains intact and inspiring commitment across all levels of the organization. The ability to handle organizational politics effectively is essential for maintaining a harmonious and a productive work environment. The dancing the boardroom metaphor highlights the dynamic nature of leadership. It emphasizes the importance of adaptability, empathy, vision, and authenticity in navigating the complexities of modern organizations. By striking a balance between structure and creativity and addressing the challenges posed by organizational politics, leaders can guide their teams towards success while fostering an environment of collaboration and trust. Madam Chair, in respect of leading with groove, I'm pleased to introduce the concept leading with groove, a leadership approach which is inspired by dance. Just as a dancer's movement must align with the rhythm of music, a leader's action must harmonize with the culture and dynamics of the organization. Leadership in this context involves adapting to the unique values, norms, and cultural elements within a team or community. When leaders resonate with these cultural nuances, they foster an environment where collaboration, respect, and open communication thrive. In Ghanaian organizations where community ties are strong, the ability of leaders to form personal connections with their teams significantly impact employee engagement and motivation. Leaders who understand the cultural fabric of the organizations can create an environment that naturally grooves towards its goals. By aligning their leadership style with the values of their people, these leaders promote unity and a shared purpose that propels the organization forward. Leading with groove also requires flexibility and adaptability. Like dancers who improvise when necessary, leaders must adjust their approaches based on the evolving needs of the organization. This adaptability is crucial in environments where change is constant. However, leaders must ensure that flexibility is rooted in core values and vision. In Ghana, leaders who balance tradition with transformation have achieved remarkable results without turning away from cultural foundations. For instance, the telecom industry's success is in implementing mobile money systems have helped promote financial inclusion in rural areas while respecting traditional structures. This proves that innovation can coexist with tradition, creating space for progress that is both modern and culturally sensitive. Now, the role of emotional intelligence and visionary leadership. Madam Chair, our publication, Beyond the Job Description, revealed that emotional intelligence enhances a leader's ability to lead with groove. At this point, I would like to, the person dealing with the slides, you should be on slide 28 by now. Now, emotional intelligence is critical for leaders as it enables them to manage their emotions and respond empathetically to the emotions of others. This empathy fosters collaboration, resilience, and motivation. especially during the times of uncertainty. Equally important is visionary leadership. Like dancers who visualize the entire performance, successful leaders craft compelling visions for their organizations. They focus not only on present challenges, but also on long-term growth and success, guiding their teams toward a shared future. Leaders who lead with groove understand the importance of collaboration and inclusiveness. They recognize that innovation and success thrive when diverse perspectives are valued. In Ghana, public-private partnerships illustrate how collaboration can foster inclusivity. For example, the MTN Ghana Foundation's partnership with the Ministry of Education has improved digital learning in underserved schools, empowering communities and ensuring sustainable development. These initiatives promote shared ownership of projects and solutions. Leaders who encourage collaboration create environments where employees feel valued, their voices heard, and their perspectives integrated into decision-making processes. Like a successful dance performance that relies on coordinated movements, a thriving organization depends on the collective efforts of its members. These leaders build cohesive teams capable of responding to challenges with resilience and determination. Leaders who embody adaptability, emotional intelligence, visionary thinking, cultural sensitivity, and collaboration create organizations where people, purpose, and processes are aligned. They blend tradition with transformation, building strong, resilient, and forward-thinking organizations. These leaders are not just focused on achieving goals, they also create environments of trust, respect, and shared values. The balance of carrots and sticks. Madam Chair, effective leadership also involves knowing when to reward and when to apply discipline. Our research on the carrots and sticks leadership style show that successful leaders strike a balance between offering incentives and enforcing penalties. This approach helps organizations remain adaptable to change while staying grounded in core values. Leaders who lead with groove navigate challenges with empathy and authenticity, ensuring the organizations remain relevant in an ever-changing world. By leading with groove, these leaders create work cultures where people are inspired to contribute meaningfully to organizations' goals, embrace change, and build resilient teams, all while leading with integrity and vision. Balancing tradition and transformation in Ghana's leadership landscape. Madam Chair, Ghana's leadership today faces the challenge of preserving its cultural heritage while adapting to globalization and modernization. Deep-rooted traditions such as respect for authority, seniority, and hierarchical structures have shaped Ghana's social and organizational culture, influencing decision-making, power dynamics, and workplace behavior. In my work, Effective Leadership and Sustainable Development in Africa, I discovered that as Ghana integrates further into the global economy, there is an increasing demand for more flexible, innovative approaches to leadership. This balance between tradition and transformation is particularly evident in the oil sector, where global best practices must coexist with local cultural values. Leaders must navigate this tension, respecting traditional values while embracing new strategies to remain competitive. In our study, Psychological Identification with Job, a leadership organizational citizenship behavior mediator, we found that balancing cultural traditions with contemporary leadership practices, such as encouraging proactive voluntary behaviors, is crucial for organizational success. Furthermore, corporate social responsibility, CSR, offers an effective way to reconcile tradition with modern business demands. In Ghana, businesses can use CSR initiatives aligned with traditional community values to maintain strong social responsibility while adapting to global trends. We are all very much aware of what is happening globally, where funds earmarked for some activities in some parts of the world, including ours, are being withheld from us. And a thought that comes to me is that it's an opportunity for organizations to think about how they do corporate social responsibility, to ensure that corporate social responsibility actually are in line with national development. In fact, there's a paper that we wrote some years back, Ghana's Corporate Social Responsibility and National Development. And we argued in that paper that one of the ways we cure our problems is to be strategic in targeting corporate social responsibility initiatives, to make sure that they actually address issues that concerns us as a country. Madam Chair, in our paper, CSR in Ghana's National Development, we found that by integrating CSR with cultural values, companies strengthen community ties and contribute to both social and economic development, ensuring they stay connected to their people while thriving in the global market. Leaders must cultivate key qualities, including effective communication, empathy, and relationship building to navigate this complex landscape. Visionary leadership that combines cultural understanding with strategic thinking ensures that leaders guide organizations through change while staying true to their cultural values. Mentorship programs are also essential in nurturing these qualities. By pairing emerging leaders with experienced mentors, these programs offer opportunities to learn how to balance tradition with transformation. This guidance helps future leaders develop emotional intelligence, culturally, and for them to become culturally sensitive and have a strategic mindset to handle both local and global challenges. Collaboration is also vital for creating inclusive transformative leadership. In Ghana, where government, traditional leaders, private organizations, and civil societies intersect, collaboration is necessary to drive meaningful change. For example, partnerships in education between the government, traditional leaders, and private organizations can help bridge the educational divide between urban and rural areas. By pooling resources and expertise, these collaborations offer culturally sensitive solutions that ensure equal access to quality education. Think tanks or policy labs, where leaders collaborate with experts and stakeholders, provide valuable insights and help leaders make informed decisions that balance innovation and tradition. A commitment to leadership development is key to ensuring that Ghana's leadership pipeline remains strong and adaptable. Investing in programs that emphasize cultural awareness and the ability to navigate a globalized world prepares future leaders to meet emerging challenges. By focusing on leadership development, Ghana can continue to lead in a way that honors both tradition and modernity. Clearly, effective leadership in Ghana requires balancing tradition and transformation through strategic partnerships, mentorship, and visionary leadership. Ghana can navigate globalization while remaining true to its cultural roots. Now, at this stage, I want to talk a bit about my contribution. I'd like to highlight my contributions in 3 areas: research, practice, and policy over the years. We should be on slide 34 now. For the sake of brevity, I will highlight 2 examples that directly speak to the topic under discussion. One of the works I'm particularly proud of is my research on resilient leadership, a transformational transactional leadership mix. In this work, I make significant contributions to the subject of leadership theory. I argue that resilient leaders are those who quickly assess situations and adapt their leadership approach accordingly. In this work, I identify 5 key areas that leaders must master to be effective. These areas borders on visionary leadership, it borders on emotional intelligence, it borders on understanding the value of collectivism, understanding assimilation, and understanding adaptation. I argued in this work that leaders who are able to understand how to manage these elements will be able to dance in their field of work and achieve desired results. The blend of approaches, which I term the transactional leadership between the transformational and transactional leadership, is the first of its kind and has been globally referenced by scholars and practitioners. Another piece of work I'm proud to be involved in is revisiting Frederick Heinsberg's 2-factor theory. Frederick Heinsberg argues that there are 2 key elements that drive motivation in the work environment, what he calls the hygiene factors and the motivators. Heinsberg argues that the hygiene factors are more of the extrinsic issues, the issues to do with pay, salary issues, work conditions, policies, and so on and so forth. The motivators refer to the nature of the job itself, what people actually do when they go to work. Heinsberg argues that what motivates is more of the motivators and not the hygiene factors. I contested Heinsberg's argument to say that, Professor Heinsberg, good idea, but you must be careful. You have to think about the context before you generalize this kind of thinking. So we argued in that paper that within the Ghanaian setting, you must be very careful to emphasize the motivators as what motivates. In fact, in our work, we concluded that what motivates largely within the Ghanaian setting is the hygiene factors and not the motivators, which was a complete revision of Heinsberg's work. This is one work that has received, it's a very simple work in my mind, but it's the work that has received significant citations globally. The last time I checked, it's been cited more than 600 times globally. And it's a big deal to have one paper cited more than 6 times. In this study, we challenge Heinsberg's, thanks very much. In this study, we challenge Heinsberg's framework, particularly in the context of Ghanaian society, where many people's basic needs are still unmet. We argue that in such settings, hygiene factors such as salary, job security, and working conditions are more significant motivators than the so-called motivators Heinsberg highlighted. This work has received substantial citations worldwide and occasionally received messages of gratitude, especially from students abroad, for our contribution. In respect to contribution to practice, Madam Chair, I have contributed to the advancement of knowledge by supervising more than 200 postgraduate students, including overseeing PhD theses and examinations. Additionally, I've had numerous opportunities to organize training sections for executives, helping them apply advanced knowledge to enhance organizational effectiveness. I have led and facilitated leadership development programs that focus on strategic thinking, visionary leadership, and navigating both local and global organizational dynamics, empowering organizations to achieve greater success. At this stage, I'd like to talk about, thank God, we are online now. Some policy recommendations. Madam Chair, the policy recommendations that I'm going to put out, they align with my presentation and serve as a blueprint to guide the implementation of ideas shared in this inaugural lecture. They are as follows. Number 1, the need to establish formal dialogue structures between traditional and political leaders. Establishing a National Traditional Leaders Council will foster dialogue between traditional and political leadership, promoting alignment on governance, resource management, and cultural preservation for effective national development. Number 2, the need to integrate traditional leadership into resource management and local governance. This policy advocates for including traditional leadership in governance to align with national sustainability and economic development policies, promoting culturally sensitive and ecologically sustainable development. Number 3, the need to reform education to promote leadership understanding. Our curriculum reforms in Ghana should integrate leadership education, helping future leaders understand collaboration between traditional and political leadership, promoting cultural respect and preparing them for modern governance challenges. Number 4, the need to combat illegal mining and promote sustainable resource practices. The Galamsey crisis poses a serious threat to both the environment and our nation's survival. To address this, a robust policy framework is urgently needed, one that involves both political and traditional leaders, to enforce sustainable practices and regulations aimed at safeguarding Ghana's natural resources. We see how government has struggled over the years to tackle this problem, and we also see the example that I showed earlier on about Otumfuo tackling it. Some things are best handled by traditional leaders. There's a need to empower youth for innovation and leadership. This policy advocates for promoting youth entrepreneurship and tech-driven leadership in Ghana, creating opportunities for young leaders to thrive and address global challenges effectively. And then the last policy, the need to enhance CSR in local governance. This policy emphasizes aligning CSR initiatives with local governance, promoting collaboration, accountability, and engagement to address community needs and promote sustainable, inclusive growth in Ghana. Implementing these policies will strengthen collaboration between leadership structures, promote sustainable practices, empower leadership and enhance CSR, fostering a resilient, inclusive leadership framework for Ghana's development. Madam Chair, before concluding my presentation, I would like to take a moment to respectfully acknowledge some individuals who have played a special role in my journey. Now, my heartfelt gratitude goes to my mother, a woman of few words, but a heart full of prayer and unwavering support. I expect the slide to move. I want you to display what is on the slide. I would like to acknowledge the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Nana Abba Appiah Amfo, for her inspirational leadership and continuous support. Madam VC, I'm deeply grateful. I'd like to acknowledge my PhD supervisors, Professor De Klerk, Professor Rice, and the late Professor Ray Parker. I extend my sincere thanks for your invaluable guidance. I'd like to acknowledge Justice Professor Samuel Kwasi Dartey-Baah. I'm profoundly grateful for your wise counsel and support. I'd like to acknowledge Professor Tego, former Vice-Chancellor. I'm thankful for your support when I applied to join the university. Without your support, I may not have been here today. I'd like to acknowledge Professor Ernest Ayite, former Vice-Chancellor, an extraordinary leader. I appreciate the opportunity you gave me to serve as head of department in 2015. Professor Ayite, I'm very grateful. I'd like to acknowledge my head of department, Professor Dan Ofori, when I first joined the university, for his guidance and giving lots of work to do at the time, which have contributed to improving my dance. The next slide must also move. I'd like to acknowledge Emerita Professor Yan Tiamwa Beidu. A special mention is due for you. You are a truly remarkable person, one who has shown a deep interest in my journey, providing guidance in countless ways. I am truly grateful. I'd like to acknowledge Professor Christopher Yano. My pastor, your wise counsel and spiritual guidance has been a source of strength throughout this journey. Prof, I'm very grateful. I'd like to acknowledge Reverend Abu Ofe, a man of deep wisdom and grace. Your support and guidance mean the world to me. I'd like to acknowledge Reverend Avis Eben Bafo, my kind and supportive brother. Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge my good friend, Reverend Dr. Samuel Edwin Tando, my schoolmate, my roommate, my brother, and my family doctor. I am truly grateful, Sami. I'd like to acknowledge my good friend, Professor George Amwaku. Thank you for your support. I'd like to acknowledge Professor Joshua Ball, a supportive friend. Thank you for your encouragement and wise counsel. I acknowledge Professor Eric Dankwa. I appreciate your counsel and guidance. I also acknowledge my good friends, Professor Justice Bawole and Professor Raymond Atuguba, my dear brothers. Thank you for your unwavering support and friendship, particularly with my work at Institutional Advancement. I trouble them a lot and they know. My twin brother, even though he's 1 week senior, Professor Kwasi Dartey-Baah, the former director of IESS and the former EPA board chair, your support has been amazing. He is one person who knows a lot of my secrets. That my wife even doesn't know. I'd like to acknowledge my true friend and brother, Professor Kwesi Aponsah-Tewia. We wrote a lot together. I remember the times that we scheduled weekly meetings on publications. Normally, Tuesdays are dedicated for that job, and we spend a large portion of that time for that purpose. I acknowledge my sister Nanoye for your extraordinary organizational skills and constant support. I also acknowledge my brother Nana Otu, Nana Yao Abuaje. I want to acknowledge my sister Koko also. Acknowledge my cousins Christy, Belinda, Nana. Acknowledge my auntie Vic. I acknowledge Bratewia. All the very dear people to us, we acknowledge you all. All my relatives, aunties and uncles, and the entourage from Ekwapi Mampo, your presence, whether near or far, has always been a source of strength. Thank you for being part of this journey. I'd like to also acknowledge my in-laws, Dr. and Mrs. Boite, for your kindness. I acknowledge the Merimama fraternity for your support. Finally, and most importantly, I would like to acknowledge my children, Dr. Nana Kwasi Dartey-Baah, Nana Ya Dartey-Baah, Samuel Papa Oreku Dartey-Baah, who managed to leave school to come, even though he's supposed to be in school. I will deal with him after this. And then to my good wife, Dr. Sandra Dartey-Baah, for your love, encouragement, and partnership throughout this journey. Madam Chair, as I conclude this lecture, I believe Ghana's leadership must find a way to blend traditional wisdom with the demands of progress. Leadership in Ghana is a dynamic balance where political leaders must honor traditional authority while evolving to address modern challenges. Likewise, traditional leaders must adapt to the evolving landscape of global governance. The future calls for diverse leadership where every voice, regardless of gender, ethnicity, or social status, is valued and empowered. Just as each movement in a dance contributes to the overall performance, every perspective in leadership shapes a harmonious and prosperous future. As I wrap up, I express my heartfelt gratitude to all those who have engaged in this conversation: scholars, traditional leaders, professionals, students, and citizens. Your presence emphasizes the significance of this dialogue and the shared responsibility we have in shaping Ghana's leadership future. Let us move forward with purpose, unity, and compassion as we dance together toward a brighter future. Thank you very much.
Let's keep acknowledging our distinguished lecturer. He deserves a louder round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much. You bear with me that our distinguished professor has clearly demonstrated that impactful research is part of our DNA as an institution. Prof, your connection between organizational leadership and traditional structures was phenomenal, and we really appreciate the insights that you've shared with us this evening. Please, let's appreciate him once more. Madam Chair, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I invite us all to relax and take a performance from the Ghana Dance Ensemble. The Ghana Dance Ensemble is performing the Kete dance, and this is the message they have for us. This dance is a form that at while existed in only the courts, or if you prefer, boardrooms of Akan kings. The dance is performed for the entertainment of royals. The movements are well crafted and executed with attention to detail. The costumes, beads, and colorful accessories reflect the rich Akan culture. This Kete dance has been selected for this inaugural lecture to reflect first the Akan heritage of Professor Samuel Kwasi Dartey-Baah, and to celebrate his achievements in leadership and organizational development. This court dance, or for the sake of today, traditional boardroom dance, reinforces the fact that dedication, attention to detail, and commitment to leading with groove is what is needed in transforming Ghana's leadership landscape. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Kete dance by the Ghana Dance Ensemble. Thank you very much, Ghana Dance Ensemble. Thank you. We really appreciate you. You can see I wanted to move to the dance floor myself. Thank you very much. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by many people, many guests, both physically here and online. But please permit me to introduce a few people among us. A lot of us have been acknowledged by our distinguished lecturer. The clergy has been duly acknowledged. We really appreciate your presence here. Traditional rulers, Nananom, we thank you very much for joining us this evening to celebrate our distinguished professor. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our former Chair of Council, Justice Dartey-Baah, retired, who joined us online. And we have two of our former Vice-Chancellors here. Emeritus Professor Ivan Adai-Mensah and Emeritus Professor Ernest Aite. We also have joining us the CEO of Ghana Tourism Development Company, Professor Kobi Mensah. I can see him, I just spotted him. Thank you very much for joining us, for taking time off your schedule to join us. We will acknowledge some more people as we move on. For now, we will take presentations. So I'll invite some groups and individuals here to present their gifts to our distinguished professor. First on my list, we have the College of Humanities. Prof. Dartey-Baah's school, that's the University of Ghana Business School, is situated in the College of Humanities. So we start with them. College of Humanities. We have the Provost and the College Registrar, who is acting as Registrar, leading the team. Next, I invite the University of Ghana Business School. University of Ghana Business School. And the Department of Organization and Human Resource Management should get ready. Department of Organization and Human Resource Management, please get ready. Department of Organization and Human Resource Management, please. The Institutional Advancement Directorate should please get ready. Institutional Advancement Directorate, please get ready. Institutional Advancement Directorate, INAD. Mary Mama Ebusua Kese Fraternity, please get ready. Mary Mamba, Ebusua Kese Fraternity. The siblings and family from Mampong should please get ready. Siblings of our distinguished professor and the family from Mampong, please get ready. Thank you. Thank you. Now, the last but not at all least on my list is the wife and children of our distinguished professor, Dr. Sandra Dartey-Baah and her children. Thank you very much. We really appreciate everything presented to our lecturer. Thank you. It's now time for the chairperson to deliver her closing remarks. So I'll invite up our chairperson and Vice-Chancellor, Professor Appiah Amfo, to the podium. Please, if you didn't hear anything from the lecture, just pay rapt attention to the chairperson. Let's welcome her. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Dancing in the boardroom, leading with groove, balancing tradition and transformation in Ghana's leadership landscape. I think that our lecturer has delivered. He met our expectations, and he deserves another round of applause. So as we bring today's insightful lecture to a close, I'd like to commend Professor Samuel Kwasi Dartey-Baah for a good job done, for reminding us of the intricate dance that leadership truly is. As I sat and I listened to him, I was reflecting on my own leadership journey, how well or not I'm doing the dance. And I hope that you are also reflecting, because we are all leaders in our spaces. You may be leading a team of 5. You may be leading a team of 3. You may be leading a team of 100 or a team of 2,000. We are all leaders, even in our homes. As a father, you are playing your leadership role. As a mother, you are. If you happen to be the first child, then you are the leader of your siblings. If you are the second of 3, then you have another person also to offer leadership to. So wherever we find ourselves, we are doing one kind of leadership or the other. And I hope that we are dancing well to the tunes. He told us that leadership is an art, and it calls for skills and adaptability. And like a dance, sometimes you miss a step, sometimes you dance off tune, but you quickly get back into the groove. That's what we all should be trying to do. And it was heartwarming hearing this from an engineer, that leadership is an art. You know, they are often concerned with clinical precision. And so it's good to hear that we are allowed to go off tune, but most importantly, we should get back on tune. He also highlighted the need for context sensitivity. And Prof, I do commend you for the courage to challenge so-called global theories, which often do not take data from our context into consideration. Navigating the complexities of traditional values vis-a-vis modernism and collaboration. I think that there is a lot that we can learn from our own context. We have very elaborate traditional leadership organizations. There's the need for us to learn from them. There's a need for us to appreciate, these structures. Sometimes the traditional leadership is misunderstood because we haven't taken the time to appreciate these and understand them. So learning is not only confined to the classroom. Let's learn from our communities. Let's learn from all the spaces that we possibly can. And then where we can also, we influence these spaces so that we can bring improvement. Because as far as I'm concerned, tradition is not static, and it also has to move with the times. From his own life, I learned that life is not always a linear path. We've seen him come from being an engineer to a leadership theorist and a practitioner. I was hoping that he was going to tell us, though, why he left the luxurious corporate life of an engineer to come into academia. I'll corner him on that later on. And if you are nice to me, I will tell you what he will tell me. But I am sure, Prof, that if you have any regrets, they are very few. And the opportunity to influence numerous lives through your teaching, through your research, through your training programs has been very gratifying to you. There is a lot that, as a university, we have gained from you, from your practical experience, from your corporate experience, from your work in the classroom. It allows you to very skillfully navigate that connection between academia and practice and industry. Prof, before I conclude, and this is on a lighter note, you know, he took us through a long list of clergy acknowledgement. And while he was doing that, I was thinking, is he going to become a reverend minister? He already is. You know why I was thinking so? Because one time a former Vice-Chancellor told me that this is the trend. When you become a professor, the next thing is to either become a reverend minister or a traditional ruler, so that you can be Reverend Prof or Nana Prof. So Prof. Dartey-Baah quickly confused me when he turned to the list of traditional rulers, and that also was an equally long one. But I believe that indicates his wide area of influence and the people that he has drawn here this evening from varying backgrounds. It just tells you his scope of influence. And Prof, we appreciate you so much for the ability to demonstrate that as professors, we no longer live in ivory towers, but we do live in real worlds. Thank you for sharing your enriching experience with us. Let us continue to dance with awareness, empathy, and a commitment to both our traditions and the need for transformations as we all continue to lead in our various spheres. I'd like to thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you next time when we invite you here again. Do have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice-Chancellor and Chair. We thank you for inspiring us with these words of wisdom. Thank you. Please let's appreciate our Vice-Chancellor again. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to add my voice to the Vice-Chancellor to appreciate you all. We thank you for joining us this evening, both online and here in the Great Hall. We are very happy you made time to come. As as characteristic of inaugural lectures, we do not ask questions because we know that the professor who delivered the lecture is an authority in his area or in his discipline. But we are kind enough to present a program on our campus radio station, Radio Universe 105.7 FM, where our professor will grant an interview on our research and innovation agenda program. And when he does that, you are free to tune in and get your questions ready for answers. So, Prof. Dartey-Baah will be granting interview to Radio Universe on Wednesday, 16th April. This coming Wednesday, 16th April, from 8 to 9 a.m. on our research and innovation agenda. Please get your questions ready. We all need leadership skills, as I earlier on alerted, and so get your questions ready, and our professor will be ready to give you more insights on what he shared this evening. We have a number of upcoming events. When you turn to the back cover of our brochure, you see some of them lined up there. The next in line is the second Kwame Gyekye Memorial Lecture to be delivered by Professor Caesar Ature on 30th April 2025 here in the Great Hall at 4:30 p.m. And the topic is coloniality, citizenship, and galamsey. You want to come to find out how these three topics, how they inform each other. So come and listen to our professor address this topic. Our next inaugural lecture will be delivered by Professor Matthew Kwame Yamuachi, head of the Department of Surgery at the School of University of Ghana Medical School. Department of Surgery at the University of Ghana Medical School. And the lecture will take place on 29th May 2025. His topic is Naked but Not Ashamed, revealing for good outcomes in the management of genitourinary disorders. And it will take place here in the Great Hall, same time as we started this inaugural lecture. So please book this on your calendars. We will give you more information when the time is getting close. For the rest of our upcoming events, you'll be duly informed when the time is due. Please, let's take a couple of announcements. But before I do that, I would like to extend an appreciation to our sign language interpreters, our colleagues who did the sign language interpretation. They are from our Center for Disability Studies and Advocacy. And I have Mr. Emmanuel Kwasi Dartey-Baah right here with me. And the other colleague is Mrs. Joyce Nyakwa Agbedaho. We thank you very much, colleagues. For our order of refreshments, we will invite all the special guests, together with our former officials of this university, to join the platform party and members of Convocation at the North Wing to my left for refreshments. Our students will take refreshments at the forecourt of the hall. That's the AA Kwapong Quadrangle. For the order of recession, the platform party will recess first, together with the members of Convocation, and the rest of us will join row by row. We'll take some more group photographs when we come out of the hall. For now, we've come to the end of our lecture, and I invite you all to kindly rise for the university anthem. Please find the lyrics on page 12 of the brochure.
Unity
Please let's remain standing. Please let's remain standing as the platform party recesses. Teams from Star Assurance, Ghana National Chamber, Ghana Canada Chamber, and Exim Bank should please stay behind, please.